tuning in to GIS Hack, big wins for small GIS teams with the Community Map of Canada. Your hosts for today are myself, Alia Kotip, Community Maps Advocate, and Paul Hearsing, Program Manager, Community Maps.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I hope you can hear me now, and I am talking. So over the next 30 minutes or so, barring any more technical issues, we'll be talking about the Community Maps program and its benefits. We also have a guest speaker, David Richard from Ville de l'Assomption. He's the geomatics technician there. Good afternoon, David.
Good afternoon, Paul, and good afternoon to everyone here.
Shout out to our marketing team who do a fabulous job helping us orchestrate these events. And together we'd all love to have your feedback on our surveys, so please don't shy away from completing one. Remember, today's session will be recorded and you'll receive an email with the recording.
If you have any questions about the content we're presenting here, please use the Q&A panel. Be sure to ask all panelists, type your question in the box, and click send. We'll also pause throughout the webinar to take questions, and we'll take questions again at the end, but feel free to type your question in at any time. So, Alia, you're relatively new to the Community Maps team. You've learned a lot over the past few months that you've been on the team, both from staff and contributors. Can you share with us some of the things that you've learned from talking with communities across the country?
Indeed, Paul, I'm new. I'm still actually, riding the learning curve. However, I did observe 5 objectives that I believe small communities can achieve using the Community Map program. The first of that is the ability to create a single source of truth.
So what do you mean by that, Alia?
I mean, in lots of instances, small communities either don't have a lot of data or their data is scattered around from a variety of sources. By contributing to the Community Map program, they end up bringing all these sources into a standardized base map, which ultimately means that the Community Map program base map is built from authoritative sources.
Yes, in my experience, there are many smaller communities that rely on third-party data sources that might not always accurately reflect what's happening in their community. By contributing their own data to the community map, communities can be selective about what appears on the map.
So essentially you are saying, they can choose the layers to share with us, correct?
Absolutely. Even if a community has only 1 or 2 layers they can contribute, that's okay.
I know that when I talk to prospect contributors, I have this big diagram in front of me that, reminds me of the data layers that we carry. Most popular ones are roads, addresses, buildings. Paul, what are some of the other layers that we collect or we include in the base map?
Sure. You're probably thinking of this sort of diagram.
It is, but mine isn't as pretty.
So you can see that there are a lot of layers that we include on the base map, and we've broken them up into different categories here of administrative and political boundaries, cultural and land use, cadastral features, transportation features, physical features, and of course imagery. And within each of those categories are some very key data layers, like some of the ones that you've mentioned: building footprints and address points, boundaries, of course, roads, trails, that sort of thing. Again, there's a lot of layers here that we include, but we find that most of our contributors don't have access to all these layers, and that's okay. Whatever they can contribute, that's most welcome.
I do always like to see the before-after pictures. I know you had one.
Oh, yes. Here's one right here. Sorry, that was my cue. So Whistler, BC, for instance, a community of about 9,000 out in British Columbia, not a large community. So on the left-hand side, we see the map as it appeared before the community contributions. And on the right-hand side, we see what the map looked like after the community contribution. So you can see immediately that Whistler has supplied buildings, for instance. That's immediately obviously. But also, if you look a little deeper, there are trails, and of course, they contributed their own road data, parks, and even if you zoom in, which we can't do here, you'll find that they've provided parcels and addresses as well. So even though they've only supplied a few of the layers that we're looking for, the layers that they have supplied certainly enhances the map and makes that a lot better.
Yeah, definitely lots of detail in there. David, last month when we chatted, you had explained that you had struggled with the lack of data when you started at Ville de l'Assomption. I know today this is no longer the case. Can you walk us through your experience?
Yeah, sure, I will. A year ago, when I started at the city of Assumption, we had basic GIS CAD style data, as I like to say. Our information were like in on paper like that and on spreadsheet. So now each day we're on the field with GPS, phone, and tablets. Our base map uh, previously was very basic with some layer here and there. And now, as we use the hosted ArcGIS online services, we have parks, road, parcels, um, and the address too. So we have a very nice looking base map, and we can use it everywhere we want and all across our different platforms. So it's pretty cool.
That is great. Paul, for our audience who are new to GIS, and I know there are a few out there, how would we best describe a base map?
Sure, Alia. I see the base map as a plate on which your meal is served. It's there to hold your food.
I like that analogy. Kind of simple to remember. Base map is like a plate.
Sure. In technical terms, it is the reference map that you use to map your features. It allows you and your users to know what features exist in the world. And of course, the more details you show on the base map, the more understanding you have of what's around you. Here's another example of the town of Beaupré in Quebec. Again, small community, population 4,000, so not a huge GIS department to work on their content. But as we zoom in here, we can see that they have actually supplied a lot of really great content, including buildings, surface features, trails, roads, railroads, parks. Again, all of that has really improved the base map and made it available to everyone who can access it.
Great. And bonjour to Beaupré attendees. I know we have a few registered, so hello to you if you are out in the audience. The other thing that I've learned, which is my second observation, Paul, is the fact that small GIS teams generally look for ways to work smarter, work better, and with the Community Map of Canada, they have a quick turnaround to be able to create apps that are shared internally across the various departments, as well as externally with their residents and so on. And these apps are creating the data is very consistent, and and across whatever the application is, the look and feel may change. However, the final the base map is always the same. Throughout lots of conversations with communities, one of the things that I've heard repeatedly is the fact that small communities manage and small GIS departments manage to eliminate a lot of redundancy using the base map of Canada.
Yes. David, I think you're
yeah, David.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear. Yeah, sure. I can tell you something here. Each year, the snow removing company that we hire to shovel the snow was complaining about filling paper form in the cold, in the ice. So what we've done, we built a 1, 2, 3 survey that are now on their phone, and everywhere they go, they can um, choose the task they have to do, And with the building footprints we have on our base map, they
Mm-hmm.
can localize themselves and the task they have to do. So we have all the same data that are, again, everywhere in the city, and we use it externally now.
Mm-hmm.
And another example we have here, the fire and the police department use our base map to plan their intervention and their plans for the public safety.
Mm-hmm.
So it's two great examples we are proud to share because it's the same data and we have built something pretty fast and pretty available for everywhere, for everybody in the city. Sorry. Yeah.
So, David, I have a question for you. How
Yeah.
difficult was it to get the rest of the other city departments on board with what you were looking to do?
Yeah. As I like to say, maps speak. So every time I show our base map or data, every single department is wow, it's amazing. We have barely nothing, and now we have footprints, uh, land use, roads, and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's on board. So, and it came very fast.
That's awesome. So we have a question that come in from our audience from Pascal. He asks, should we capture parking lots and on-street parking as points or polygons? Definitely as polygons, especially for the parking lots, because of course they vary in size. And once you get into the detailed skills, it's definitely important to have that area as opposed to the points. So keep those questions coming in. But let's move along in the presentation here.
And, with customization, that's your.
Yes. So one of the things, of course, David was talking about the various different departments and their different requirements. And one of the nice things about the vector-based maps is that they are very flexible. So here, for instance, we have five different map styles that Esri Canada has come out, a light gray style, a dark gray style, topographic style, streets, night version, and daytime version. These are all different looks and feel to the maps, but the content remains the same. And even then, if you're looking to get creative or if you're looking to have a different looking base map because of corporate requirements, for instance, you can actually go in, you can edit the styles, you can make them your own, you can make them whatever color you want. And the nice thing is that the underlying content will be the same. So you might have an entirely different style, but if you're using the Community Map of Canada as a base map, you're going to see that updated content reflected in your map as well.
Yeah, the customization and the quick turnaround, Paul, allows a community to easily support economic growth, and which is my third observation. And we've seen that with David in his application for to support businesses.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about that. Of course, David works for the Ville de l'Assomption in Quebec. Population of 20,000, again, not a big community, and they've managed to support local businesses and encourage community spending with applications like this one here, built using the Community Map of Canada as a base map. And of course, during these COVID-19 times, that's a really important thing to do. David, why don't you just step us through what you did with this application?
Yeah, sure, Paul, I will. As the pandemic was hitting the world last March, the city of L'Assomption decided to launch a web map showing the local groceries, restaurants, NGO, and and all the local shops. So what we did, we sent by email 123 survey um, for the businesses to fill it. So once we got answers, we started to build a map, and we made this map within 1 day. So without any single line of code, we built this great app, and we were very proud to say it, but we were in the first city to launch something like that. So we had and we have 10,000 views on it, and the feedback we got from the citizen and our local businesses are very great. We still have customer. We open more and more and things like that. And as I said, we're very proud. And Alia, you saw the promotion layer we had?
I love that, and definitely it's an application that you should be very proud of. Yes, that feature in the left bottom left side, David, is one of my favorite. Kind of find out who's having a promotion, which store. So a girl always loves her deals, man.
I'm sure.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool, David. Thanks for sharing that with us. Another example is Truro, Nova Scotia, population 12,000. So again, not a very large community. They basically also look to promote their own businesses. They've got 120 local businesses that they've mapped. And on the map, you can zoom and pan around and get information about the specific businesses, addresses, telephone numbers, websites. So it enables the local residents to know what's available, what's open in Truro. So that it's a great way to promote businesses. And they've taken a slightly different approach than David did with Ville de l'Assomption. Instead of building a story map, they basically incorporate the map into their ArcGIS hub.
Which is a great feature, or kind of, I like the fact that you did point that out, Paul, because it allows, our audience to see how they can extend their GIS platform. These two municipalities have done the same thing different ways, but still had a very consistent map and look and feel. So in a way, they're extending the use of their ArcGIS platform. And, communities are always concerned about their safety as well as, their economic development and, being prepared for NG 911. Paul, before we started the seminar or the webinar today, you did walk us through a little story that kind of describes the difference between the new NG 911 system and the old system. Share it with everybody.
I definitely will. So just to give it a little bit of background for those of you who are not familiar with the NG 911, NG 911 is short for Next Generation 911. To date, the 911 system for emergency response is set up for landline telephones. However, of course, many people and businesses today rely on cell phones. And the old 911 system isn't set up to handle these new technologies, but the NG 911 is. So let me tell you the story that Elio is referring to, and it involves my parents. And I think it's a good illustration of the difference between the old system and the new system. So my parents, who are no longer with us and would have been 94 this year, lived in a small town when they retired. They had a telephone, of course, a landline at their principal residence. They also had a vacation trailer at a trailer park in the country where they would spend their summers. There was no phone at the trailer park, so they decided to get a cell phone. But the funny thing was, in their minds, the cell phone was the trailer phone. It stayed with the trailer just like the landline. Even after I told my father you could take this with you anywhere and you'll still get the calls, they never thought of actually taking the cell phone with them. So they always left it behind with the trailer, and that was it basically functioned like a landline, except it wasn't. So the old 911 system is like that. It's a telephone. Landlines were tied to a specific address and location. It was easy to find out what their location was. In fact, there were published books that tied phone numbers to a specific address. Remember those, Alia?
Yes, I do, but I can't remember the last time I've seen one.
No, I can't either. They used to show up on your doorstep every year. But of course, mobile phones don't have an address. They move around. A call coming from a mobile phone could be coming from anywhere. And this is where GIS comes into play. In fact, GIS is at the core of NG 911. It pinpoints the geographic location of the mobile phone, or any phone, and calculates its access point and the best route to get there. The NG 911 initiative requires that the data is being used the being used for NG911 has to meet certain standards. And we've adopted these standards as part of the Community Map program.
So you're saying anyone who joins the Community Map program, their data would automatically meet the standards of NG911 moving forward?
It definitely moves a community's data towards meeting NG911 requirements. We port the data to a schema that is compatible to NG911 specifications. Not only that, but we can give contributors immediate feedback on the state of their data and highlight possible issues with their data as they work to meet NG911 standards. And it's all free of charge. We put the data into an NG911 compatible format, and we can return that to the contributor. Another benefit of joining the Community Map program.
You know, Paul, 11 years ago or so, I remember sitting down in Alex's office alongside other members of the leadership team, like Gordon Plunkett, Chris North, George Karoupas, just to name a few, to assemble the framework of an event that would later be known as the King's Bridge. This summit, basically called on federal and provincial influencers to agree to the need for a standardized web-based map of Canada. And this event is basically what gave birth to the Community Map program, and I believe that's kind of when you got hired to run it afterwards. One of the things that I personally love about my position advocating for this program is the fact that it's a national program. It allows all communities and encourages all Canadian communities to participate, even if they aren't Esri customers or users.
Yes, and as a cartographer, I think that this is one of the most exciting things about the program. Together, we are building a seamless national base map using a single national standard. Many authoritative contributors from across the country and across all levels of government coming together to build a national base map that everyone can use free of charge.
I don't think that is something that's being done by anyone else, is it?
I don't think so either, Alia.
Having that seamless base map and the data, the data quality discrepancy between neighboring jurisdictions, especially if we go back to what we just spoke about, NG911 readiness. Individual municipalities and regions will be responsible for providing their own data to the they will be responsible to provide their own local data to NG911. So having that seamless map kind of eliminates that.
Yeah, definitely. So here we have a map that shows some of the contributors that have updated their content in the past year. So you can see it's right across the country from all levels of government. And we've got a process that automates and uploads changes for those who have open data sites. So that's automatically included in, so those updates get automatically included in the base map. And the nice thing is that we've got all these communities from across the country that are doing their own updates for their own business purposes. And we're simply leveraging that work that they're doing, and we're taking that and putting it together to create a map that everyone can access and use.
Paul, we do have a question from Brad that's asked, how does this differ from updating the open data layers?
One of the, I guess if you're referring to something like OpenStreetMap, OpenStreetMap is basically available for anyone to edit. You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a resident that knows the neighborhood. You could be anybody. You could go in there and you can make any changes. Here, it's sort of like an OpenStreetMap model, except instead of allowing anybody to contribute data, we're relying on authoritative contributors. And for us, the authoritative contributors are those people across the country, mostly local authorities such as local governments that know their area, that are familiar with what's going on and can verify that, a road change has actually occurred.
Yeah, so that creates, this creates a base map of Canada that's by the community and for the community. David, you started contributing earlier this year. You haven't been on the program for a long time. From your experience, kind of what would you say, what kind of piece of advice would you give to potential contributors or other communities that are considering to be part of the program?
Yeah, since day one, we've been very good taken care by the Esri map team, and 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 the speed to publish and see the results, it's pretty fast, and it's pretty good to see our results as fast as this. And I think, and I should recommend that every small or medium city size should be part of this program. We really benefit because we can use all the same data, as I said, everywhere we want and on every app we do. So it's the most important thing for us. And being part of this program, it's an experience for itself for the city of L'Assomption. We're very
Well,
proud to be in, and we're still looking to publish more and more.
that's great. So if anybody out there would like to be part of this project, we can definitely make it happen for you. Paul and I are available for you to help you with questions and our information. You can reach out to us at any time. Again, my name is Alia Kotip. I can be reached at akotip@esri.ca and Paul Heersink at pheersink@esri.ca. You can always hit us up also at LinkedIn. So definitely let's talk.
So we have a few questions, Elia, that we probably should answer.
Yeah.
One of them from Craig is, assumption is that communities have to buy access to use these tools. Um, the answer really, no, you don't have to be an Esri customer to be part of the Community Maps program. We have a few contributors that are part of the program that are not Esri customers, but they definitely are part of the program. And as they're more than welcome, if you have data in CAD format, for an instance, we can take that and we can incorporate that into our base map. Another question from Brad about, are there limitations to what type of features that can be loaded, such as rivers, wetlands, and eagle's nests? Eagle's nest is an interesting one. Again, there is, of course, if we go back to our slide on the different layers, these are, of course, we're primarily looking to build a reference map. So we've used the topographic base map as sort of a model of the content that we include. So Eagle's Nest would, I guess, be more of a thematic layer that you might want to map on top of this map. But things such as rivers and wetlands are things that we include in the base map.
Do we have some more questions?
Somebody is asking about a compatibility and interoperability with ArcGIS 10.8.1 and QuickBooks. With vector-based maps are only compatible, or sorry, I should say, ArcMap is not compatible with vector-based maps, but vector-based maps are compatible throughout the rest of the ArcGIS platform. I'm not sure about QuickBooks. Is something that I will have to look into and get back to you, Maureen.
Paul, we have another question from Janet. She's asking, can the community map be downloaded for offline EMS used to support continuous operation, even when there's no internet connectivity?
Right now, the Community Map of Canada cannot be downloaded for offline use, but it's something that we are considering. So why don't we touch base after the webinar, Janet, and we can figure out what your needs are and how we can accommodate them.
And I have the question that we always get most probably is it available in both languages? How do you deal with French community data?
David, how have we dealt with your French community data?
Yes, there's no issue with that. And as you can hear me, I'm in the program, and my English is average. So yeah, we got no issue. Only the attributes we have, such as school name and things like that, it was all in French. And on our base map, the name are there. So I,
Yeah, so for French communities, obviously we've used we display the French content on the map. English communities, we display the English content. Across the country, there are a number of officially bilingual features, and we rely on the federal government's guidance to determine what those features are. And if a feature, for instance, such as Hudson Bay, which is Bay de Hudson in French and Hudson Bay in English. Those are both official names. We'll work on incorporating both of those names onto the map. And if it's something that we've missed, please let us know. We'd be more than happy to correct those mistakes.
Yes, and another one that I get to see a lot is, what is the expected turnaround time for updates? I can answer that question, Paul.
Okay.
I think by now I should be able to answer it. So the turnaround time is, once we receive your data, is about 2 to 3 weeks to actually get it published onto the base map. Generally, our window is 2 weeks. Sometimes it can take longer because we do review and process the data for uploading. And then once after that, whenever you know, the community has updates, we would update right away because we update the map twice a week, if daily, if not twice a week, generally.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Alia, usually if there's a new contributor coming on board, it takes us a bit longer to migrate that data over to our data schema. And once we have that in place and once we have set up the automated updates, then if you provide us with an update later on after the initial publication of your content, if you provide us with an update, let's say on a Monday, by the end of the week, it should be incorporated into the base map. That's one of the nice things about this community map of Canada is that we're able to quickly turn around updates and incorporate them into the base map. Another question here. Since I am new to my role in the organization, how do I find out what we are contributing to the community maps, or who do I contact to find out? Kevin, we will reach out to you after this webinar and let you know where you're at with the community maps program, and if things have kind of stalled, we'll restart them, and if possible, include more data layers if you have access to them.
And then we've got Andrew asking, with community maps application, what about natural resource roads? Are those going to be incorporated into this and into the NG911 program?
That depends on, of course, what our contributors decide to give us. Of course, we don't do any data creation, so that if, let's say, a province decides not to make their resource roads public, then we can't incorporate that into the map. But if they do choose to share that with us, we will incorporate that into the map. And I know that the NG911 is definitely interested in resource roads because, of course, emergencies can happen anywhere, and resource roads can be an effective way of accessing various remote locations. But understandably, sometimes jurisdictions have reluctance to make that data public because they don't want the public to access some of those remote roads simply because of the danger that's involved.
Mm-hmm. And then Pascal is asking, which data schema and versions are you currently using?
Well, we have what we call our community maps data schema, which we are more than happy to share with you. Again, as I said before, it aligns up with what the NG911 requirements are looking for. So if you're interested, we can send that email we can send that schema out to you for your review.
Definitely.
Got lots of questions here.
I know.
Leah?
Emily, I work with RCMP in Alberta, and we're working towards NG911 in the province. I'm struggling with the address location in some rural areas as well as on First Nation reserves. Is there something that might be addressed using these tools? There's something that might be addressed, sorry.
That's a really good question. Definitely addresses, especially in remote areas, are sometimes difficult to get to, which is why we are looking to get local jurisdictions involved in the Community Maps program. Again, being based in Toronto, I'm not always, I'm not the expert on the data in Alberta, especially for small remote communities. So if you have contacts with some of the local communities, especially First Nations, that we can connect with, we would love to hear from you and incorporate that content into the base map.
Definitely. I'm not seeing any more questions. Paul, are you?
No, I'm not. If you have any more questions, please add them in. Just to give you a heads up on upcoming webinars of related topics that you might find interesting. If you want to know more about the Next Generation 911 program, join us next week, Tuesday, for the Next Generation 911 puts GIS on the map, and you'll hear a lot more about NG911 than what we've talked about today. And we have this same webinar, slightly different, of course, in French, 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, September 29th. If your first language is French, or you feel free to join us and let your friends and colleagues know about this. We'll be covering the same material. And I believe, David, you'll be with us that day as well.
Oh, sure, I will, Paul.
I won't be, because my French
really?
is really, really poor, sadly to say.
I thought you were going to do it with us, but.
Oh, we have a French expert for that one.
Yes, we do. I don't think you want to hear me speak French, because I don't think you really understand anything.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining. We took you through 5 objectives that small communities can achieve with Community Maps of Canada. Feel free to reach out to myself or Paul anytime if you want, if you have further questions or you really want to get onto the program. We'd be more than happy to have you. David, thank you so much for joining us and talking about the Ville de l'Assomption successes. It's always great to hear what communities are doing. And everyone, please don't forget to let us know how we did today. We'd really appreciate it.
And also, just to remind people that a recording of this webinar will be available shortly. And if you have any questions or you'd like to get involved, feel free to contact Alia or myself. We'd be more than happy to get things going with you.
Paul, can we show the our slide with our emails one more time just before we say goodbye, kind of thing?
Sure. There we are, 2 handsome people. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Thanks for spending time with us, folks. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to us. And for a lot of you who have put in comments into the Q&A panel, we will be getting back to you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, David. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.